And it is 7:02. There was a possibility of someone coming in regards to the demolition request, but he hasn't come in yet. This would have been, I gotta look up his name. Let's see.
Page.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Page. Very good. So we don't need him for this meeting. This will be a public hearing, so we can get input from the public. So I'm ready to get started. And who's supporting us from the town?
Hi, Norm. This is Becca Meekins. I'm hosting your meeting tonight. You guys are you're going live right now, so you're ready to go whenever you're ready.
Okay. And I'd like to bring Mr. Page in. He doesn't have his volume on yet.
Okay.
All right. So we're ready to get started. We'll start with the formalities here. So I'm Norm Corbin. I'm the chair of the Northborough Historic District Commission. This open meeting of the Northborough Historic District Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transformation of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public hearings and to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of the Northborough Historic District Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Historic District Commission to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along with the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to the Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. So we're ready to get started, and I'm looking at the agenda. I'd like to start off, welcome Mr. Page.
Hello.
How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Very good. Dan Page is involved with the demolition of the property at 61 to 65 West Main Street. For those who aren't familiar with the process, and certainly anybody watching or who watches us in the future, the way this process works is when an antique building is going to be demolished in the town of Northborough, the demolition request is passed to the Historic District Commission for comment. So we review the property, we review its architecture, we review its historical nature, and then we come up with a decision to determine if it's of a significant building, then we can continue the 6-month delay. When the demolition request is put in, because it's an older building, it automatically gets put on a 6-month delay. So for tonight's meeting, we've been asked by the building inspector to send them a letter what our recommendation is for this particular building. This is a very unique one. We have never done this before. We did address this building back in 2013. November 2013. We addressed this building in terms of its demolition. At that time, it was for a different purpose. For those who don't know it, the current purpose is for the new Northborough Fire Station. So at that time, we did put a demolition delay on it. And so from November 2013, from 2013, the demolition 6-month delay would have ended November 2013. So that's where we are today. I'd like to hear some comments about where we are and how we should pursue this because it is a little different than normal. Anybody have any ideas? Or
This was purchased by the town?
This has not been purchased yet. It will not be purchased until the demolition is complete and the site is thoroughly cleaned from any possible contamination.
Okay.
So the owners have to take the building down.
Okay.
All the previous contamination was taken care of back, I mean, there was a project that was evaluated years ago, maybe 3 or 4
Correct.
years ago.
Right,
So
but
the
that's,
cleanup was done at the time. but not the demo-
That
Right.
was another project.
Pardon me?
That was another project.
Exactly. No, what I'm
Yeah.
saying in terms of contamination on the site, that was
Well, I know that,
remedied back then.
that's true, but that doesn't influence our decision at all, what the situation is of the site.
Yep. Just wanted to throw in a piece of information.
No, that's good, because there's a lot of new people involved with this, so that's good. Well, I'll give you my 2 cents on this. In effect, the building has been on a demolition delay for over 7 years. Because it ran out in 6 months, but there's been no activity on the site. I'm thinking, the purpose of a delay is to find another buyer who would be willing to salvage the building and to turn it into something, to be able to salvage it for some kind of
Yeah.
reuse. But it's been given 7.5 years for this to happen. And my feeling is it's past its demolition deadline. And I would have a hard time for me to think through to put another 6-month delay on a building.
Mhm.
Because again, in my opinion, it's been on delay for 7 years with no success.
Hey, Norm,
Yes,
this is Mike. I had a couple of questions, but hopefully not too difficult to answer. Is this building within the confines of a historic district?
no, the building is not in a historic district.
Okay.
The only reason we're addressing it is because it's in the Massachusetts Historical Commission database as a historic asset in the town of Northborough. But it's not on the register, it's not in a historic district.
So with that being said, I was under the impression that the delays can only occur on structures that are within the confines of the historic district. Is that accurate or not?
That's not accurate.
Okay.
It applies to any property that's in the database for the Mass Historical Commission.
Okay. And the second aspect was, what was the reason for, I wasn't around in 2013. What was the reason back in 2013 for why this was considered such a historic property that we would put a delay on it? Was there any discussion on what was this? I know there was some discussion about the architecture on the gable ends, but I wasn't.
Yeah, let me, okay, if I can do I need to do a shared screen. So let's see if we can do this magic thing here. Share screen. And I want to share, which one am I sharing here? This one. Share. Is that working?
Yeah.
All right. So anytime we do these, anytime there's a request for demolition, anytime there's a request for demolition of an older property, we have to write a letter to the Board of Selectmen describing what our decision is on that property. And what you're looking at here is that letter. And the reason we voted at that time was not from a historical point, but from an architectural point. We thought it was architecturally significant, and that's why we put the delay in.
There was yeah, right. I remember this now. The
Okay.
Greek Revival design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I understood, the Greek Revival was the way the gable end of it looked. Is that right? The roof line?
Yes, we actually had, let's see, I'm looking at the letter now. The fact that the house has a Greek Revival design with a gabled front and a recessed porch in recessed porch.
Okay.
I do remember there was I think there's something we may have said to the owner that had pictures that we highlighted the particular architectural details at the time. For this project, and for those who don't remember, the original demolition, it was going to be put in a building that would be stores on the first floor and apartments on the second floor. That was what was going to go in at that time. But that never happened.
Okay.
I think, Norm, if I recall, I think we had requested that that they incorporate. I mean, we didn't have any jurisdiction over it, but we requested at least that they incorporate think about incorporating some of the architectural details in the new building in what they were going to be putting in.
That's correct. You're right, Bruce. You were around at that time. You've been with us for a while.
Old time.
But yeah, you're right. We did. In fact, I think I have a letter somewhere where we talked to the architect about that. But again, this is old news. This is 7 years old.
Okay, thanks.
So again, the building inspector is requesting some type of a letter from us to how they should pursue this request for the demolition.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with you, Norm. I don't think there's necessarily a reason to put this on another 180-day delay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I would agree as well.
So this is a public hearing, and Becca, could you let us know if anybody is participating with comments?
Sure, Norm, could you just stop sharing your screen so I could see the participants?
I can do that.
Thank you.
I'm getting pretty good at this.
So we do have a couple of attendees in the room. If either of them would like to speak, if they could just use the raise hand feature, and we can bring them in and allow them to talk. It does not look like you have any takers.
Okay, so it's a going once, going twice kind of a thing. All right then. So, we have the information about the building. We also recognize that the delay was put on quite some time ago. Can someone make a motion we can vote on? Because we have to do a full vote on this. Oh,
I
Dan,
make a
excuse me, Dan, did you have any comments or input you wanted to tell us?
Nope. The only thing is all the asbestos abatement is done, and the checklist that we were given by the building inspectors has been taken care of, and this is the last thing we have to do.
Okay, thanks, Dan. All right.
I make a motion that we proceed to allow the demolition,
I second.
accept the demolition.
All right. So let me do the roll call vote. Brian Smith,
I agree.
Millie,
I agree.
Brian Swanson,
Agree.
Leslie,
I agree.
Bruce,
I agree.
Mike,
I agree.
and I also agree. So we have a unanimous decision. What I'll do is I will put a letter together to the building inspector and let him know that the demolition can occur. Okay. So that pretty much that closes the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan, for showing up. We appreciate it. And we'll go from here.
All right. Thanks again.
Take care.
Yeah.
Becca, do I have to do anything different or we just roll over into our regular meeting?
Nope, you just keep going.
Keep going. All right. So, do the regular meeting. Prior meeting minutes. Bruce, thank you for pulling them together and sending them out. Does anybody have any comments on the prior meeting minutes? Everybody all set reading them, or you want to?
Yeah, I'm all set.
All set.
And can someone make a motion to accept them?
I make a motion to accept the Historical District Commission meetings from Wednesday, October 21st.
Second?
All right.
Second.
All right. So now we go through the roll call again. So Brian Smith,
Approved.
Billy,
Approved?
Ryan Swanson,
Approved.
Leslie,
Approved.
Bruce,
Approved.
and Mike.
Approved.
And I approve. So that was easy. All right. Something done. Okay. So for Bruce, I'm gonna keep to the agendas. I won't bounce around for you. How's that?
I appreciate
Do whatever I can do to make your life easy.
it. Great. You can take the meeting minutes next time.
Old business, prior CPA requests. So we have, this is for the Brigham Street Burial Ground. This is the interpretive sign we want to install there. We have a quote from Expose Signs, and I will see if I can pull that up. Share screen, see if I can find that quote. All right. Can you see that?
No.
No. All right. I need to do shade screen. Let's see. Can't pull it up. I don't know where it went. It's funny, when I look at the shared screen, it's not giving me all of the options I need. I don't know why it's not doing that. Let me try something else here. All right.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's not what we want to look at. Let's see
Oh.
what we can do here. I love this stuff. There it is. How about that?
There you go.
Oh, wow. So what we have is a quote from Expose Signs. It includes the construction of the sign and the design of the sign and the installation of the sign. They put taxes on there when we don't pay taxes. So the quote's for $1,812.70. Leslie had a question earlier to me, and to make this clear, they can't build a sign until they design what the sign's going to look like. So there's going to be mock-ups that'll have to be sent to us that we approve. So this is really to get the ball. This is to pay for the sign, but it's to get the ball rolling, so they can do the construction and all the design work. I forwarded to them the kinds of information we've already discussed. I'm kind of curious to see how they put it together, but there's an old map of the cemetery. There's a list of potential people that are buried at the cemetery. Beth Finch McCarthy gave a small write-up in terms of what information about the cemetery. And there's a photograph of one of the real old gravestones. I think those are the things that they're that would be incorporated into the design. So at this point, it's to give the thumbs up to get the ball rolling. And do we have any questions about what we should be asking for at this point, or is this okay?
I think as long as we're not committed to anything at this point, it's good to me.
Well,
It's a good place to start.
we're committed to buy the sign. We're just not committed to the design because we don't know what that will be.
Right.
Does this current design that we're talking about roughly follow what was there before?
There's nothing there. This is for the
Oh.
Brigham Street Cemetery, so there's nothing there.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm getting my cemeteries mixed up. That
not
was
a
how. Wasn't there something there that the Boy Scouts put up?
That's in the, we'll get to that next. That's the Howard
Oh.
Street.
Howard Street. Okay.
Okay.
That's Howard Street. This is Brigham Street. Right now, Brigham Street has a sign that marks it as a cemetery, and there's a small plaque that someone put in about 50 years ago that identifies it as a cemetery. And
Okay.
Has
So
any-
is this what the bid is based on, the $1,800 bid, is that based on any preliminary layout or design or not, or is it, how did they come up with that number?
I sent them an image of something that we've looked at before as a design. That would be, it's not made out of wood. It's made out of, what's he coming up with? An aluminum cabinet, and with a Mexican face. If you give me a moment, I should be able to find an example of it, just to refresh everybody's memory. I got to think about where I hid that though. Let's see.
So what we're talking about is we're being asked to approve this money, or what are we being asked to approve or not approve? Or
we're being asked to approve the money to be spent to manufacture the historical interpretive sign for Brigham Street.
But I thought you said that that number is going to be based on what the final design is going to be, which could be different than, well, I guess there's nothing so far. Are you saying the $1,800 will cover pretty much?
Well, it covers the whole thing. It
Okay.
includes the construction of the construction itself of the marker and the design that we put on the marker in the installation of the marker.
I guess my question is how much is it possible that this number would change? And if it does change, how much would it change?
It can't change. This is a quote. This is what they'll do for the work.
Did we get,
This is a picture of the basic design.
Okay.
did we get quotes from anybody else, just out of curiosity?
Yes, we did, because we had to put a number together when we put for CPA funding. This is a CPA funding project, and I did get a quote from an online organization back when we put this in. This is almost 2 years ago now, at least.
Oh,
They estimated $4,000.
okay.
We're
All
about
right.
half that price. And it's also a local firm. The $1,800 is a local firm that we've done business with many times.
Okay.
What is the money? Where's the source of the money we're talking about?
So
CPA.
funding.
Oh, CPA.
It was authorized for spending 2 years ago at town meeting.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's before your time, but that's where the money's coming from.
got it.
Okay. So this is already pretty much a done deal then.
Yeah, I mean, we get 2 quotes, and we got this will be the done deal part. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
It'll just be a matter now of what the design is like, right?
correct. We don't know what the design, which would be what the people actually would look at, is we don't know what that will be. And that will certainly have to go through several iterations. We do this every time when we have a sign, either a marker, the historic markers we're putting up around town, or even the signs we had installed that mark the different cemeteries, those nice brown signs. We go through several iterations with the supplier to get a final design that we like.
Mhm.
And they may come back and say that they could put more information on the placard, or there's too much information. I don't know, but they did receive everything we thought we wanted to put on. So the quote's based on the information we supplied them.
Okay. So this is basically using CPA funding that was already authorized.
Yes,
Got it.
correct.
So we don't have to submit again for it.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Did you have a picture of what the design looked like, Norm, or
Well,
did I?
Are you
You were
looking
gonna
at,
put, I thought you were gonna put something up.
I did. Did you see that picture of the basic? This is the design of the structure. You see that, Mike?
Nope.
Does anybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
It says sharing the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't see it, Mike.
If you minimize your view, you might catch it.
Okay.
So Norm, are we thinking about the same design for, I should know this, but for Howard Street?
We don't know yet. The one for Howard Street is a bit of a challenge because it's much bigger. So I don't know if it's going to be the same design as this, in terms of the structure. I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll take the Howard Street's the next topic that's going to come up.
Get up.
Yeah.
It's nice looking design though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I did talk to the DPW director. I said, what about installation? Because they have an installation cost, and Scott prefers that they do the installation. So
They being expose or they being,
yeah, that's right. I didn't make that clear. Expose does the installation.
okay, all right.
Yeah, it wasn't. So, Mike, you ever have any luck seeing it?
No, it's okay.
All right. I'll make a note to at least send it.
Oh,
to,
that's I'm sure it's fine.
but we're a long way from getting. You know how we are with putting signs together and commas and everything. We're a way off. I'm looking for a spring installation. Something.
My allies are gone. I lost my allies.
I know. Yeah, Leslie, we have a fight now. So I would need a motion to put this that we can spend this money for someone so we can start the ball rolling.
I make a motion to accept CPA funding authorization for the Brigham Street signs.
Very good. Second, anybody?
Second.
All right. And we'll do the roll call. Brian Smith,
I agree.
Millie,
I accept.
Brian Swanson,
Agree.
Leslie,
Aye, to mix it up again.
Mike DeShano,
Yes. Yes.
and Bruce.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys. We're moving this one along.
Great.
The next topic on the agenda is the Howard Street Burial Ground interpretive sign. We haven't really put much effort into this one yet, but we started. Just so you know, this has also been already funded by CPA. The estimated price is in the, actually what was done is the two signs, we asked for CPA funding for the two signs for $8,000. So half of $8,000 is about $4,000. So it'd be roughly a $4,000 sign. This is a very different situation. The Howard Street Burial Ground, all we're trying to do is replace the sign that's been installed by an Eagle Scout project back almost 20 years ago. And there's no added design work. It's really to replicate it. For those who don't remember, I was able to get a hold of the Eagle Scout's dad, and he found me some original maps. And I had the hard paper copies at home here. And so we scanned them in. Town Hall was very nice to us, so they scanned them in for us so we can pass them off to people who could do the construction. So let me see how we do this thing, getting better with the shared screen. All right. That's right. Go here. All right. If I do this. How did I get it the last time to go? How did I find it the last time?
There, looks like you're
Oh,
going.
I think I got it. I think I know what I got to do. Okay, so can you see this? It's a map of the old burial ground in Howard.
Oh.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, this is a digitized version of what's actually there. And I went through it, and it is the same version that's currently rotting away at the Howard Street Cemetery. So there's a location of all of the headstones, and then below it is the information of, the numbers correspond, the number of the headstone corresponds to who's buried at that site. This was done by Scout Van Poole back in 2001, I think.
Wow.
This isn't everything you gave me though.
No, this is absolutely correct. I went through this line by line to make sure it matched up with the
Oh
pictures I
my
took.
God.
So this is fine. So his father forwarded me this map with with the index, and everything is hunky dory with that. If you go to the marker that's currently there on the right hand side, he took about 30 gravestones and actually made detailed information of who's buried there rather than a name. He's written that out. And I was
Hmm. Whoop,
Uh-oh,
frozen.
we lost you, Norm.
Frozen.
sent it to Leslie, who found some way of taking the photo, and we're in the process of fine tuning that now. The challenge is because of the deterioration.
Norm, we lost you for a minute there.
And again.
Oh yeah.
I can't read some of.
Norm, we're losing you, Norm.
Am I back live?
Norm.
All right, hold on. I got a problem with my phone. Let's see. How do I do this? How do I get back live? You don't hear
You're
me?
here.
At all?
No, you're good. No, you're
live.
good. We're just losing your voice.
We're just cutting out.
All right. How about now? Am I normal?
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know
Yeah, okay. Don't read too much into
what
that.
we start with.
all right.
I have this really weird problem. When my landline rings the phone, I lose the internet. So it's
Oh my gosh.
and they tell us it's not happening. Anyway.
So you were starting to say that on the side there were details, and then we kind of lost you.
Oh, okay. So on the side, there were more details about probably about 15 or 20 of the burials. So like instead of just saying Peter Whitney Parson, Peter Whitney was the minister, there's information about Peter Whitney. So working with Leslie, again, I photographed the information on the marker that's deteriorating, and Leslie converted that to from photographs to a Word document, and we're going through now to make sure that the conversion was correct. And I think, Leslie, we're probably 95% there.
At
Wow.
least I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really cool. If you upload an image to Google Docs and you right click on the image and you say open with Google, it just magically converts all the text. It was so close. I mean, there are wrinkles on it. You know, it didn't get stuff in the wrinkles that I couldn't even see, but it was astounding and it does it like immediately, instantaneous. It was really cool.
Yeah, I was really impressed that did that. So where we are now is in some of the information, it actually had text, because some of the gravestones are very interesting what the text is on them. And the paper, what's on the marker now, we can't read it. So I need to go back to the actual gravestone and confirm what the wording is. And as soon as there's a nice day, I'll do that. And that'll be almost done. And then we're ready to put this out also for quotes to have it built. And it might be the same kind of basic design as, you know, it's an aluminum structure with this put on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the update on that. A month from now, we should have all the wording. We're probably ready to shoot out get some quotes.
Visitor here.
Oh, you got a friend?
Yep.
Oh,
My assistant.
our new member.
Is she black?
He is, yeah. I got two. Black and blacker.
Ah,
All right. So that was just an update on that. There's no action on that.
nice.
All right.
Nice work, Leslie. Thank you for chiming in and volunteering for that.
Yeah, like I said, it was super easy. Couldn't believe it.
Nice to have some technical geek with the group, you know? Really makes a difference.
I beg your pardon.
That's a compliment.
All right.
So the next one
We'll
is
go with that.
the next topic is the National Register for the Howard Street Burial Ground and Cemetery. So as you knew last month, Scott let a contract out for someone to start the documentation to have the cemetery put in the National Register. I've been communicating with her occasionally where she needs some additional information, which we have. So she's working on it. she visited the site. The only thing is I wish she would have let me know she was showing up that day. I would have liked to walk around with her, but she's from Reading, so she drove out here and took a walk through the cemetery to get a flavor for things.
Hmm.
She was very impressed how neat it is. So that's good. So just to put it in perspective, National Register nominations take 3 years. It's not something that's going to happen shortly. So once she's done all the paperwork and puts it in, then it's a pecking order. How, when the state has to go through this. So it's a long process, and it got started, so that's good. All right. We did get that article in for the Native American Trail in the community.
Yeah, it was great, Norm. You do a great job on those.
Yeah, there was a typo in it. Several people pointed up. So the paper version has the typo in it, and the online version will be corrected. I put the wrong hill in. The sign was correct. I was paranoid that when they saw there was an error that it was the sign. The sign is correct. There was an error in the article. I guess needed a proofreader on that one.
You got the chief in there too, huh?
Yeah. Walter Vickers, the retired chief, a Northborough resident. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That's cool. He's a nice guy. I was glad I was able to contact him. All right. Historic preservation plan. I had sent out some documents last month. I forwarded you, I think, the links to the 2 final reports for the inventory. Remember those links?
Yep.
And that was some information we needed to consider. Then I found that the Massachusetts Historical Commission, they actually put together a historic preservation plan for the state. And I think I sent that out also. And there was one chapter in there that I thought was of interest to us. So that's some guidance. In fact, I contacted our contact at the Mass Historical Commission to confirm that what do we have to do from their perspective for a historic preservation document. And he says it's up to us. It can be as, obviously we need to have some plans in there, but it doesn't have to be a real thick document. It just can be a meats and potatoes kind of thing. He says that decision would be up to us. And what was the other thing? And then I remembered the CPC, the Community Preservation Commission, hired a contractor to review our use of CPA funds. This was back about 4 years ago. Leslie, does that ring a bell? I found the document. I'm sorry?
What was that for? I'm sorry.
The Community Preservation Commission hired contractor to come in and evaluate all our funding for CPA funds and to see if they could give us some guidance for the next few years. And they had 4 pages of guidance regarding historical preservation funds in its usage. And I think I sent out, it's like a 2-page summary of their findings. That was actually—
That might be before my time.
What I sent out a couple of days ago was what I found. I can send the whole document out, especially since Millie and Leslie are on the committee now. You might want to see it. There you go. That's what I sent out.
Yeah.
But I found the whole document. I'm surprised I had it. It's on my computer. An interesting thing in that is I keep forgetting that it's not just buildings. It's buildings, it's structures, it's artifacts. And one of the things that she felt we were very weak in is, not us as a commission, but us as a town, is the preservation of historic documents. And that makes you think. It makes you think about how would we do that. Now, Andy Dowd, the town clerk, had actually had a 3-year project to preserve a bunch of old historic documents in the town hall. It was an expensive program. It was $90,000 over 3 years.
Oh.
So it's that, this is not somebody just scanning in pictures, and this is a whole different league of preservation. So I do remember, it's like, well, what does the Unitarian Church have for old documents? What does the society have for old documents? It just makes you think. So when we put a preservation plan together, I think the preservation of documents is something that we need to think about.
Yeah.
The society has been involved for the last couple of years. Ellen, I forgot her last name. She's the curator. She's been actively involved in scanning a lot of the documents and preserving them digitally. And we just purchased for her, the Historical Society, a new computer and a scanner to try to make her life a little easier. But she's been painstakingly, doing that preservation work for the last couple of years.
Well, then you need to realize that the CPA funding is available to do exactly that. And in the town hall people did not do that. They sent all the documents out to have them professionally documented. In their case, the preservation done at the town hall was actually a scanning process where they duplicated a lot of the old documents. That's
the work.
Excuse me.
The work that Ellen is doing, I mean, I haven't really sat down and looked at, how she's doing it, but I know she has had a bunch of people help her out and volunteer. She's sort of leading the charge. I know she's been, doing it almost, I don't know exactly how often per week, but it's at least a couple of days a week. She's been actively scanning what the society has. So I'm sure after a couple of years, I know she's got a lot of stuff, and
that's good. But I think the society might want to think about how to have it done, how to get funding for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've walked into the archives in the society, and there's so much information in there. I don't know how you preserve it. I don't know how it's done. But anyway, so that's probably something they should know about. I think I did have her talk to Andy Dowd in the past, just to get an idea what Andy's process was. But Andy was, he farmed it out. He got a contract to have somebody do this. So what I'd like to do with the historic preservation plan is, first step, I'd like to get an idea for what people would like in an outline. Before we start writing anything, I'd like to know what we need to write about. So when you think about it, just send me an email of what you think needs to be in there. To me, I see that I looked at some of the old documents. I think, Mike, you still with us? Okay.
I have them. You dropped them off. I have them. I've read them, and the one that stands out in my mind is the Sandwich Historic Preservation Plan.
I think that was done professionally.
Yes, it was, and that was one of the things that I would mention is, a key decision point would be whether we want to have it done professionally or have it done by us, because I think the quality of the Sandwich document is pretty significantly better, obviously, than the other ones.
Westboro did their own, I think.
Yes, I think they did. And it's not bad. I'm not saying it's not bad, but I think the Sandwich has so much more detail and really kind of has a lot of information that is not jumping out at you when you kind of look at the Westboro one. Not to say that Westboro is not good. It is good, but I would.
So maybe that's the discussion we have to start with. Well, I think we should get an idea what we need. So if you guys have a list, just throw some ideas and send them so we can pull together next month what we need. And then, think through what we would have for a professional. We did put a CPA request in about 8 years ago to have a professional do this. The quote was $30,000. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. And I was not on the committee at the time, and the CPC were very friendly in telling me that was never going to happen. So that's one thing we'll have to recognize. It's real money, and it's a new cast of characters on the CPC, so we could bring it up again. But the first go around was it never got into town meeting. So, but it's something we should think about.
Okay.
I just had one thought, Norm, and that was we spent some time on the Cape this past summer, and one of the things that we did, we went to what's the town next to Truro? Wellfleet. Wellfleet, yes. And when I was in one of the shops in Wellfleet, kind of wandering, they had this great little booklet about the historic nature of the town. And it goes through and, it's just this little small booklet that's free. And it goes through all these different buildings in the town of Wellfleet, their historic background, their significance. And, Wellfleet has a very strong history of art. And, guys like Hopper have painted a lot of the stuff in Wellfleet. And they talk about a lot of the buildings, the Coast Guard stations and the life-saving stations and things like that. But it dawned on me as I was looking at it that might be kind of an interesting thing to think about as far as doing something similar for Northborough, to highlight in a nice little handy-dandy booklet a lot of the buildings and architecture in the town and the history of the town.
You bring up a good point, because when I looked at the state, I skimmed the document from the state preservation plan. And one of the things that you drive home in there is education, educating the population about the history of the town, and things like pamphlets would fall under that clearly. That would, and I think that's kind of the thing we should be thinking about in putting to a list. The list that we generated before didn't have things like pamphlets or,
I kind of found it very interesting because that's kind of, in my wheelhouse, but I could see where people who are not, and myself included, are not that knowledgeable of the significant buildings in town and perhaps some of how a lot of these things, the buildings and people that live there all kind of blended together to form a community. I think it comes through pretty strongly in this little pamphlet. It's kind of like one of these folding things that you can flip through. You get like 7 or 8 pages, and they have pictures of these different buildings in it, and with a small paragraph describing who the owner is, when it was built, what the significance is, and if it was painted by like Edward Hopper, they would bring that out and show the painting that he did. So I don't think we have any Edward Hopper still life buildings in the town, but it sounds like it would be an interesting thing to think about as far as, like you said, educating and bringing to life a lot of the history in a nice, easy to read kind of primer on, how Northborough developed and what are the significant historical aspects of the town and the houses that are remaining.
Is it something you could, I don't expect you to photograph all the pages, but if you have a copy,
Sure.
you just
I did.
to us?
I grabbed one. I was going to grab a bunch more, but I didn't think it would be appropriate to take. So I only have one, but I'll be happy to see if I can somehow scan it and send it around if that would be worthwhile.
No, it was free anyway, so I don't feel
Yeah.
bad. It would be, taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I probably should have grabbed a few extra because, why not, right? But I don't know. I don't want to overstep my their generosity.
That's a good idea. Yeah, let's take a look and see. We can add it to the list. But certainly education has been one of the key things that the state was looking for. So,
I think it would work. I think it would work myself. I really like the idea of, and that's kind of sort of one of the reasons why I think we're here, right?
Yeah.
Not only for myself, but for people that perhaps go in and have a cup of coffee, they pick the thing up, they look at it, and they get a better sense of our historic significance.
It's a good idea, and they certainly pulled a few people together to do it. How many know that it's a flyer? It's not a pamphlet, like it's one of these trifold flyers. There's a trifold flyer from the Historical Society, a walking tour of Main Street. How many know that exists?
For Northborough?
For North,
Yeah.
walking tour of Main Street. Brian knows it exists.
Yeah.
It probably was done, it's got to be 15, 20 years ago. But if you go, well, you don't do it anymore, but without COVID, if you went into the museum when it's open, those flyers are available walking tour of Main Street. We'll see if we can find one and send it around. So the concept has been, not the particular details you're talking about, Mike, but that basic concept is has been looked at, and it was, well, I guess it's successful. People use it, but it's nice to know.
There's no sense in reinventing the wheel. If one already exists, then
Well, it doesn't do what you do, what you're thinking about, but it's still, there's a basis of something like that that could be used as an idea for another idea.
I like this thing in particular. I like because you see piles of these things, at least in Wellfleet, in a lot of the little art boutique shops and the coffee shops, and it wasn't kind of corralled in just one place. So, I mean, as you kind of walk around, you see it, and then eventually, at least for me, I picked it up and kind of scanned through it and looked through it, and I thought it definitely captured my interest, largely because of the Edward Hopper paintings. But it drew me into the history of that particular town, the seafaring aspect of it, and the significance of a lot of the items of the town, like the life-saving station and the connection with the ocean, was really pretty interesting.
All right. Well, why don't you see if you can sit around for some ideas, because it does sound like a good idea. And
well, it would be great if we could get the CPA to fund something that we could have it kind of. It's real. This thing is pretty professional. I'm sure it was done.
Oh, and going back, I think that's the driver is, how do we utilize CPA funding for some of these educational programs, whatever they are, whatever.
Yeah.
The library used to have there was a cassette, or an audio series of hiking on the hiking trails, for the interpretive markers on the hiking trails in town. So maybe something similar like that. You have a recording, you check something out of the library that's a recording, and you get history as you're going.
I'll scan it and send it around, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, may as well. Let's keep the conversation alive. All right. So the only thing I'm looking for now to wrap up the preservation plan is just individually send me some ideas you think definitely should be in the plan. And I think we still need kind of an outline of what we should put in the plan and go from there. If I had a goal, it would be that in a year from now, we would have something that's complete. That would be my goal.
Does this plan?
I'm sorry?
Does this plan link to the master plan?
Yes, because the master plan says that we need to do a preservation plan.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I put that in there.
So it should be consistent.
Yeah.
It should be a consistent document with what's described in the master plan.
Well, the master plan just says that we should prepare a preservation plan. There's no detail on how we do it. It's just saying we should do it.
Mhm.
So.
Okay.
All right. The next topic is archaeological sites in Northborough. And Mike, why don't you
What's that?
update us on where we are with the archaeological sites in Northborough?
Well, I don't have much to offer other than what I had said before. I did you get the letter that I sent?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the update is essentially, I contacted Kathy Jubert to know how do we request this information regarding architectural sites in the town of Northborough. And she said that the Historic District Commission could do that, just make sure she's copied. And Mike drafted a letter that I got about an hour or two ago. That looks quite good. I'm going to look at it again, Mike, but you may be our designated letter writer because it's really well written. And
okay, good.
See if we can get permission to see at least what's in the town.
So we sent the just to recap, we send this letter, and hopefully shortly thereafter we should get a notice allowing us, I don't know how many people, but hopefully more than one, to go and to view the available information on these 12 sites that have been mentioned in a couple of documents that exist within the town of Northborough. And I guess the plan would be they're on Morrissey Boulevard. So we would, go in a couple of cars or one car and go there and spend an afternoon reviewing and copying whatever information they allow us to view and copy. And from what I understood from talking with Tom Potter, that, everything they have is available for us to look at. And they just ask that we make sure that whatever documents we take are, kept under some kind of secure location, like a locked file cabinet, and that the access be restricted to kind of a, need to know basis, so that these sites are kept confidential and preserved. So I tried to grab that in the letter, and I think the only question I had was, I'll ask you, Norm, is I wonder if we should just email it or mail it by snail mail or do both, or I don't know.
If you have the email address for your contact, I think we should email it and snail mail it. We should do
Okay. Yeah, I guess I sent it to the letter that it's addressed to. This I forgot her name.
Simone.
Yeah, it's CC Tom Potter, and then put it in the. Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Just email it and then CC Tom Potter and then Kathy Jolbert and everybody on the board, and then or on the commission here, and then put it in the U.S. mail and wait for the response. And I could follow up with him in a day or two and see, make sure he has it, and then hopefully try to schedule a time where we can go in and take a look at what he's got. I'm kind of interested, actually. I'm pretty interested in seeing what kind of stuff they have for these 12 different sites. I think a lot of it is going to kind of come down in and around that Stirrup Brook area. Like what we had, the way you would describe the sign that was just put up with the chief.
Yeah.
Kind of have a lot of interesting stuff, and I think perhaps a lot of that stuff will be in that area. But I thought, did you say to me one time? I don't know if it was you, but the other place that found some arrowheads was over by. I forgot the name of the place.
Indian Meadows?
Yeah, Indian Meadows.
Yeah. I think if you get a chance, if there's a way you can finagle yourself into the museum, the Historical Society Museum, the Indian arrowheads that are up there, I think are labeled where they were found.
Right, you did mention that, and I've been meaning to do that, but haven't had a chance.
Well, I don't even know how access is right now, but you might.
Yeah, they don't. I think it's closed because of the COVID thing. So.
All right, so that letter will go out shortly, and see we at least find out what we have in town. I mean, it'll be a good first step for us. In fact, that's another thing that's been popping up when I'm looking at the preservation plan. Is just one step back for preservation planning is the archaeological features are considered historical preservation. And I wanted to mention it earlier, Leslie, and I forgot, but also the Conservation Commission is conserving a lot of old farmlands, which are all historical. So there's a real link between what we do and what conservation is doing with protection of old lands. So we have to find some common ground there too. We have to make those links. All right, that's good. So that'll go out, and hopefully we'll hear something from somebody positive.
On the letter that goes out by snail mail, does that have to go out? Is that on the town letterhead? Is that one of the things, criteria?
Yeah, I've got it goes out on town letterhead, and I've got some envelopes here that say that have the town address and stuff.
Okay.
So I just shoot them out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything to report for our different committees? Let's see. So we have representation on the White Cliffs Committee. I don't think excuse me, I don't think we mentioned it last month because it's not in the meeting minutes. So the main thing that's happened with White Cliffs in the last month is we've asked the contractor to go back and give us an additional option where the White Cliffs building is essentially made, I don't have the exact words. essentially brought up to code. What would be the best case scenario to just essentially get the building up and running just like before it was closed. You know, no concept of new buildings in the back, no concept of just what does it take to get the mansion itself functioning again. So they needed additional funding for that, which was not a problem, was $5,800. And we expect to get a response from this other option. Hopefully, we're hoping by the end of November, so I'm thinking we haven't heard yet, so maybe early December. So that's where that is. That's because the other options that were looked at were financially cumbersome. So now it's like, okay, well, let's just look at the building and see where we are with just the building. So that's where White Cliffs is. Is there anything going on? Anything, questions about that at this point? No? All right. Is there anything we need to know about the CPC at this point, Leslie?
No, we haven't started. We haven't met yet. So
I was just curious to know, other than the Historical Society, if there's any other funding requests with a historical nature.
yeah, we haven't seen stuff come in yet.
Okay.
Or I haven't. I don't know if John's gotten stuff yet.
And
Hey, Norm,
yep,
do we have anything in front of the CPC?
the Historic District Commission, no.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then how about the master plan implementation, Millie? Is that kicked off yet?
No, not yet.
Are all the members been decided on yet? Do you know?
I think that they're discussing it, but they haven't made
Okay.
any formal announcement.
And let's see, new business. Anybody want to buy the old Grange Hall? Yeah. So I know that's one of the buildings that's a favorite in town to make sure it does not get demolished.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So because this is all recorded and the like, I thought I would throw out some ideas because people are going to say, what are we going to do about it? So this is what our responsibility is regarding antique buildings like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that building within a historic district?
No, it's not. But it's listed as a Northborough historic asset with the state of Massachusetts. So if a demolition request were to come to the town hall, it would come by us to be reviewed to determine if the building has any historical or architectural features that would require it to have a 6-month demolition delay. If we had a demolition, if that happens and there's a demolition delay implemented, the goal of that is to find either another buyer or to work with the current buyer to look at other options from demolition. The other thing we can do, and we've done in the past, is when we know the buyer, is to give them information about how they can fund restoration projects. And we've been doing this quite a while now. We kind of know the basics. There's CPA funding for restoration projects. There's government funding from the state for restoration project, and there's also private ones. There's also the private one we know that just came up from Preservation Massachusetts. So, all we can do is keep the building from being demolished for 6 months in the worst case scenario, and try to help any buyer to look at some possible grants for restoration or preservation. I don't see what other role we might have. And shaking trees, if you know someone who might be interested in preserving a building or coming up with a unique idea, make sure they know it's for sale. There's no for sale sign in front of it.
Bill, you could add it to your collection.
I know. Trust me, I've looked at it. I have a couple of questions on it. When was it last occupied? Does anybody know?
Over 10 years ago.
Over 10.
It was not occupied. I might be wrong on this, but I don't think so. It was sold, the Grange sold it to the current owner. So it was not used as a residential building at all that I can think of. I was surprised with the photographs how this upstairs was a big function hall. I thought it would have been cut up. It's still there.
Do you know what the plan was for the building? The guy that bought it, was he planning on doing a 2-family or 3-family in it, or?
When I spoke with his son, I spoke with his son about 6 weeks ago. He had drawn up plans for a 4-unit condo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I think there was some challenges with that because of parking.
That's what I thought.
I think there's challenges because of parking, because I think for a 4-unit condo, you need 8 parking spots at least.
Yep.
So it's a pretty small lot, but
Yeah.
I assume it has town water and sewer though, right?
I have no idea. You'd have to go.
Probably.
Does the Historical Society building have it?
Have what?
Town water and sewer, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah,
Hmm.
So that's where that stands. We'll see what the future holds. But as you said, Leslie, we got to keep an eye on that building, and 3 weeks later, boom.
I know.
The other thing that crossed my path just a couple of nights ago that we should be aware of, I don't know if we have influence, but we need to be aware of, is I don't know if you recognize, but the Worcester State Hospital grounds, quite a piece of that land is Northborough, in the town of Northborough, on Northborough property. Northborough doesn't own it, but it's still owned by the state. And they want to start doing some demolition of some of the buildings and water tanks that are on the Northborough side of that property, because they're derelict, which is one of the main drivers for that. I've identified that there's quite a few things they want to tear down, but 4 of them are listed in the National Register. So I had to give, I gave Kathy Duke a heads up that the way it's supposed to work is if they demolish it, now this is the state demolishing on their own property. If they demolish it, they're supposed to notify the Massachusetts Historical Commission that they are actually demolishing National Historic Registered properties. So, that's where that stands. This is not.
I'm sorry. Did the register get individual buildings or the whole place?
The whole place is on the register, but if you look at the document, which is what I found, if you look at the document, there must be like 100 buildings on that site at one time.
Yeah. Right.
Some buildings are they use the term, I don't know the term. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Some buildings are part of the national registration and some buildings are not. So there's like a Quonset hut they want to take down. That's not considered National Register material. So they actually go through each building and each building, and they quantify if it's actually part of the National Register listing or it really isn't part of the National Register listing.
So it's building by building.
It's building by building, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a 70-page document for the National Register.
Wow.
It's because of all the buildings. And to be honest, I don't think any of them have been salvaged on the Westboro side with the new development they put in.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
All down. I was surprised they didn't salvage 1 or 2. But
do you know if the ones on the Northborough side are on the historic?
Yeah, those are the ones I'm speaking of. There's 4 of them that are on the Northborough side that are on the National Register, and they're considered,
Okay.
I think the word is conforming. They're conforming or confirming on the National Register. So it's just a heads up. I don't know if we get involved because it's the state property, it's a state destruction. I don't know if we get involved, but I just felt we should at least know, because somebody's going to see some buildings come down and they'll say, how come we not get involved? Anyway, maybe we will at some point. But if you don't remember, probably Bruce might remember because he's been with long ago. There was an old barn and an old piggery that were torn down on the Northborough property, on the state property, Brian remembers, and the demolition crew never notified the Mass Historical Commission that they were tearing these National Register buildings down. Now, the fact is that they were derelict, so they would have come down, which is the same situation we're in now, but I wanted to get in there and take photographs of the property before they get torn down. So I also have a request in to say, if we can get in and document the buildings before they're torn down, could that happen? So. And that's the Grange, that's the state property. Is there anything else you guys know about going on that we should at least be aware of? Nope, that's good. Keep your ears open. Sometimes you find out things. From surprising sources. The only thing in the mail is a reminder that we have a $500 budget. Every year we get issued a $500 budget for the town. So the budget is activated on July the 1st. We haven't spent any of it yet. So it's something, if you have some ideas, you have a small budget to fund them. The next meeting date is December 16th. I need to know if that works for people. It's the week before Christmas. Do we want to keep that date? Do we want to change that date?
It works for me.
Works for me.
Works for me.
I think I'm okay.
Going out of town. All right, so we'll keep it at the 16th. See if there's anything else I needed to bring up. Covers my list. All right. Anybody have any ideas how to end this thing?
I move we call it a night.
All right. Do I have anybody who wants to second that motion?
Second,
All right, I gotta go through the list. So, Brian Smith,
agree?
Millie,
Agree.
Brian Swanson,
Agree.
Mike,
Agree.
Leslie,
Absolutely.
still with us, bros?
Agree.
All right. You just woke up. But I agree. So we'll see you guys on the 16th and have a good Thanksgiving.
Sounds great. Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
See you.